Okay, are you ready for this? You may want to buckle up. This is the international application published under the Patent Cooperation Treaty, so they're applying for an international treaty. I'm sorry, they're applying for an international patent underneath a international treaty. Who's applying for the patent? Those that love you so much. Oh yeah, we're talking Microsoft. So you can see the patent classification. All the information's right here. The inventors, the designated states, the published language, the priority date, the application, Microsoft technology. Well, check this out. Cryptocurrency system using body activity data. What? Oh my goodness. Yes. And, you know, if you really want to add to the love, okay, because you got to add to the love, there's got to be some more love. Look at the number here, the international publication number W0 2020
06 06 06
A1. So, 666. Oh, I mean, really? Couldn't you have picked another number, or did you just have to throw it in everybody's face? So, I don't know. It's because they love you so much. So let's look at the abstract after I read to you the title one more time. Cryptocurrency system using body activity data. Okay, so what in the world, what does that even mean? Well, let's look into it. I don't know. Let's see what it says here, though. Tell me if this is similar, though. Is this a coincidence? This is from Revelation 13:16 through 18. This is Young's literal translation. And it maketh all, the small and the great, and the rich and the poor, and the free man and the servants, that it may give to them a mark upon their right hand or upon their foreheads, and that no one may be able to buy or to sell except he who is having the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Here is the wisdom. He who is having the understanding, let him count the number of the beast. For the number of a man it is, and its number is 666. Just a coincidence? Ladies and gentlemen, we live in the Matrix. Now, before I get into this, I want to show you something real quick. So, notice there is a red shield right there, right? I click that, boom, virtual shield. I connect, boom. I'm now in Dallas, Texas. Or am I? No, I'm in Southern Colorado, but it says I'm in Dallas, Texas. What a great way to surf secure, anonymous, and have an open platform for research, so the search results aren't based upon your previous search results and your geographical location as much. virtualshield.com/leakproject. Free 30 days of service, free 30-day trial. Then after that, it's $2.50 a month. You even have the opportunity to make sure that your webcam and your microphone is turned off. An additional layer of security. virtualshield.com/leakproject. So easy to use, even I could do it. virtualshield.com/leakproject. Cryptocurrency system. You've got a cloud. You've got another cloud, a communication network that connects to a black vault door. And then below that, you have the user device, the sensor, and the subject, which is a human body. So the abstract human body activity associated with a task provided to a user may be used in a mining process of a cryptocurrency system. A server may provide a task to a device of a user which is communicatively coupled to the server. What? Okay, so a server may provide a task to a device of a user which is communicatively coupled to the server. A sensor communicatively coupled to or comprised in the device of the user may sense body activity of the user. Body activity data may be generated based on the sensed body activity of the user. The cryptocurrency system communicatively coupled to the device of the user may verify if the body activity data satisfies one or more conditions set by the cryptocurrency system and award cryptocurrency to the user whose body activity data is verified. So They're going to track your body movements, and once they deem you worthy of servitude, once you've done your work for the day, you now get paid. Maybe. Did you work hard enough? Did you do it fast enough? Were you efficient enough? Did you take too many breaks in between? Did you skip a couple of steps? Did you not drag it out the way you were supposed to? Did you get done too early so they decide not to pay you? Well, now it essentially says this cryptocurrency system that's connected to a device that's with you will verify your body activity, and then it will satisfy the conditions. Or if it doesn't satisfy the conditions, then you don't get paid. Oh my goodness. Well, thank goodness they numbered it W02020-666, or I mean 060606A1. I'm really glad they added those 3 6s there. It makes me just feel so much more comfortable. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I know you love us so much. You know that one guy, what's his name? Oh, he really loves us. He probably loves us more than just about anybody. So, here's all the technical data. Let's see what else we got here. We've got the background. Let's take a look at the background, shall we? Cryptocurrency system using body activity data. Now let's go back into the background. A virtual currency, also known as a digital currency, is a medium of exchange implemented through the internet generally, not tied to a specific government-backed fiat printed currency such as the US dollar or the euro, and typically designed to allow instantaneous transactions and borderless transfer of ownership. One example of virtual currency is cryptocurrency, wherein cryptography is used to secure transactions and to control the creation of new units. Hey, nice unit. Now, this is actually one of the beauties of cryptocurrencies. That's true. Cryptocurrency is awesome. Now, do you want to be tracked with a system that will now use your data? This is just going to be a way for people that own corporations and businesses to make sure you're doing your work even more. So video surveillance isn't enough. Now they have to have another device that's hooked up to a blockchain type technology that creates your cryptocurrency. Did you do enough push-ups? And then they're going to have a generator pack. This is another idea that I'm thinking. What if they decide to, okay, you need to produce energy, so we're going to give you virtual currency for the energy that you produce. But we're going to hook you up to a machine, and you have to do a certain amount of physical exercise combined with the work that you have to do, that we tell you have to do. And if you don't do it, you don't get paid. If you do it, we will see, because it will be connected to this new technology. 666, the mark of evil. So, interesting, because LOVE, EVOL, evil, the opposite of love, in reverse. Now remember, this is for entertainment purposes only. Anything that is similar to anything else is just coincidence. So, now let's get back to this. Several cryptocurrencies exist. Among these, the most well-known is a blockchain-based cryptocurrency. Most blockchain-based cryptocurrencies are decentralized in the sense that it has no central point of control. However, blockchain-based cryptocurrency can also be implemented in a centralized system, having a central point of control over the cryptocurrency. Now they're trying to promote it. Oh yeah, it's great, but it needs to be centralized underneath this 666. Bitcoin is one of the examples of blockchain-based cryptocurrency. It is described in a 2008 article by Satoshi Nakamoto named Bitcoin. It's a peer-to-peer electronic cash system. Yes, we all know this. Okay, now let's see what its description of blockchain is. A blockchain is a data structure that stores a list of transactions and can be thought of as a distributed electronic ledger that records transactions between source identifiers and destination identifiers. The transactions are bundled into blocks, and every block except for the first block refers back to or is linked to a prior block in the blockchain. Computer resources, or nodes, which are people's computers or electronic devices that are additional points of reference, and more, maintain the blockchain and cryptographically validate each new block and the transactions contained in the corresponding block. The validation process includes computationally solving a difficult problem that is also easy to verify and is sometimes called a proof of work. This process is referred to as mining. The mining may be a random process with low probability, so that a lot of trial and error is required to solve a computationally difficult problem. Accordingly, the mining may require enormous amounts of computational energy. I'm sorry, folks. Reading was never my very best skill, or even close to my very best skill. So it is with respect to these and other general considerations that the following embodiments have been described. Also, although relatively speaking, or specific problems have been discussed, it should be understood that the embodiments should not be limited to solving the specific problems identified in the background. So the summary, some exemplary embodiments of the present disclosure may use human body activity associated with a task provided to a user as a solution to mining challenges in cryptocurrency systems. What? For example, a brainwave or body heat emitted from the user when the user performs the task provided by an information or service provider, such as viewing advertisement or using certain internet services, can be used in the mining process. So essentially, they're going to find a way to read your mind and decipher if you're deemed worthy of getting cryptocurrency, in my opinion. This could lead to that. They're getting in your mind. They're using technologies that are going to be linked to when you see something and you have a certain emotional reaction, so they can link that reaction in a blockchain and track your emotions to what you see and what you do and what you hear and what's around you.
What?
But thank goodness it's 666. This is unbelievable, but so believable. Yet so believable. I mean, imagine now you go to the theater, you've got a technology with the device that's with you, hopefully not implanted in you. It's with you, you're watching the movie, and it's picking up brain waves and body heat that's linking it to a task performed, whether you're watching something or doing something or eating some popcorn or drinking some genetically modified E. coli feces in a soda pop, because you want to watch out for sugar, so you need a sugar substitute. Because bleach sugar isn't good enough. I mean, are you seeing what I'm seeing here? This is beyond. This is so beyond next level, but it's now. It is and they had to use 666. They're like, here you go, bow down to your master so you can get paid.
Biatch.
Because we love you so much. We love you like dear. We love you dearly. Cryptocurrency systems data generated based on the body activity of the user can be a proof of work, and it's linked in a block, and that block can be looked up, and that block can be referenced. It's a ledger, so all of your thoughts and emotions and feelings and experiences can now be put in a blockchain in a ledger. Are you seeing this? I told you to buckle up. Woo! This 5G got nothing on this. Oh, man, but they need something to run this. They need lower latency speeds and faster download speeds. What a beautiful way to roll it out about the same time. Give me the millimeter waves. Woo! I got to have an antenna on every block for faster download speeds, but it's totally safe. Trust me. Trust me. 666. Yes, we can. Thank you, Satan. Yes, yes. Thank you, Satan. Oops, I said yes, we can backwards, and it just came out that way. Accordingly, certain exemplary embodiments of the present disclosure may reduce computational energy for the mining process, as well as make the mining process faster. Give me that 5G love. Millimeter waves, precision speed, precision tracking capabilities. Less wattage, totally safe, don't worry. Just be happy with our faster download speeds. Now you got virtual currency going through your veins.
You got technology reading your mind, reading your heat sensory perception. We got satellites in space for download speeds, giving you that 5G. Don't you see? It's really just for internet. Don't worry, it has nothing to do with you. Being a virtual currency mining system for the machine. You got it running through your veins. Don't worry, you'll see big gains.
All right, let's get into this. Systems, methods, and hardware aspects of computer-readable storage media. Now remember, DNA, human DNA can be used as storage. I've told you this. I told you this like 2 years ago. Systems, methods, and hardware aspects of computer-readable storage media are provided herein for a cryptocurrency system using human body activity data. According to various embodiments of the present disclosure, a server may provide a task to a device of a user which is communicatively coupled to the server. A sensor communicatively coupled to or compromised in the device of the user may sense body activity of the user. Body activity data may be generated based on the sensed body activity of the user. A cryptocurrency system communicatively coupled to the device of the user may verify whether or not the body activity data satisfies one or more conditions set by the cryptocurrency system and award cryptocurrency to the user whose body activity data is verified. Examples are implemented as a computer process, a computing system, or as an article of manufacture, such as a device, computer program product, or computer readable medium. According to one aspect, the computer program product is a computer storage medium readable by a computer system and encoding a computer program, compromising instructions for executing a computer process. This summary is provided to introduce a selection of concepts in a simple form that are further described below in the detailed description. This summary is not intended to identify key features or essential features of the claimed subject matter, nor is it intended to be used to limit the scope of the claimed subject matter. So they can essentially add a lot more and, just don't worry about it. It's all good. We got this. Just a brief description of the drawings. Various embodiments in accordance with the present disclosure will be described with reference to the drawings, in which Figure 1 illustrates an example environment in which some exemplary embodiments of the present disclosure may be practiced. Figure 2 shows a system diagram of a decentralized cryptocurrency system according to an exemplary embodiment of the present disclosure. Let's see here. Where's the images at?
I want to see some pictures, man. I want to see them. Where are we at, man? Scroll down. I want to take a look. Are they talking about the ones that are up here? Is that what you're talking about? All right, we're talking about this one. Figure 1. Figure it out.
All right, let's scroll down here a little bit. What do we got here?
What do we got here, man? This is another Figure 1.
What is this? Let's make this a little bit smaller. This is Figure 2. Okay, so it's showing the device, it's showing the sensor, the task server, the provide task, and how it's linked here. Sense, user, body activity. Generate body activity data. So this activity is collected, and then it's sent into the blockchain. And then everybody's like, hey, man, what did Bob think when they turned on that movie? And they said, oh, man, Bob, you're a naughty boy. Bob, how could you think such a thing? Dude, I didn't mean for it to be put in my blockchain. Oh, my goodness. This is wild. Nope, Bob, you didn't think the right thought. We're not going to pay you today. You don't get paid today because you didn't think what we wanted you to think. You need to think subconsciously the way we want. This could train your mind at the subconscious level. You're like, oops, I didn't think what I needed to. Sorry, man. Like, they just imagine you've got this coupled with some type of like zapping technology, right? You've got some type of zapper that's hooked up to you, and it's like, you thought wrong, Bob. And Bob's like, ah! Oh my goodness. This is far out. I gotta take a deep breath here. Woo! Don't worry, Bob. We'll protect you, man. I'm putting on my 5G hat right now. 5G hat's going on. Where's that 5G, man? You don't get that 5G on me, man. Bob. You're protected, bro. We got some 5. Okay, so I just want to could you imagine? Like, really think about that for a minute. So it's showing the operation and the way that it's working out. The hash is within the target range, ? Rehashed data of body activity. Rehashed data equals hash. Received from user device. Operation 350. 666. The mark of the beast.
Run to the hills. Run for your life.
All right, so provide. It's just crazy. Look at this. Provide task. Sense user body activity. Produce vectors. Generate hash. Add some nanotechnology in there, Bob. No, I'm not you, Bob. I'm sorry. Don't add the nanotechnology in, Bob. We need to protect Bob. That's what the nanotechnology is for, Rex. It's good for you. Okay. Give me the nanotechnology. Can you add thimerosal in there as an adjuvant so that the nanotechnology works better, please? That's how I heard it works in those other things that everybody likes to get. Oh, man, it protects them and all. Vectors. Then they have a rehashed data of body activity. 666. Rehashed data equals vectors received from user device ? And then they award the cryptocurrency. Was your body activity proper? Did it produce the proper vectors? Were the vectors equal to the hash rate, or was the hash rate pretty rough and did it not have the adequate sausage? Give me some more genetically modified sausage in there and it might work. And then put it in the network, add it on the display. So now it's on display for everybody to see your reaction, your emotion. But don't worry about it. Neurogress. Mechatronic systems. Look at this. Here's the International Search Report. Folks, they're coming through me right now. The aliens are talking through me, through the 5G. Classification of subject matter. Filled, searched. White papers. Received from the internet. Retrieved from the internet. It must be true. The whole document is from the internet. This whole thing was made and brought to you by the crazy guy. I guess that's the end of it. That's the end of that, Doc. You meant? Well, I don't really have much more to say on that for now. I would like to say this, though. Thanks for listening to my rant. I certainly feel better now, and I hope you do. And this is for entertainment purposes only. This is just a live-action role-playing. Any correlations with reality are not reality because it's just entertainment. And reality isn't entertainment. Or is it? Now I'm all confused. What? Because we're going to be the change the world needs to see. Hey everybody, Rex Bear Leak Project. How the heck are you? We're out here in the Sand Dunes National Park, southern Colorado area, and this is one of the most mystical locations in North America. This is close to the Four Corners region. It has fascinating magnetic anomalies, and as you can see, the proximity of it, it's not too far away from Dulce. It's not too far away from Colorado Springs. It's in proximity within a few hours to Chimney Rock and many of these Native American ruins and petroglyphs. And they're also the largest sand dunes in North America. A lot of people believe that these sand dunes are the remains of an excavation of a massive underground tunnel system or underground city, essentially. So these things are huge. I mean, to put into perspective, I've got the Nikon P1000. This thing has just an incredible zoom. Look at these people. They're thousands of feet away and they have no idea. They're getting voyeured right now. Hello. We just look at it. They're having a picnic. Look at these guys. They're snowboarding. Or wait. Sandboarding. They're sandboarding. That's what I'm talking about. Now, if I would have had a tripod, this would have been a lot smoother, but I'm moving this around and trying to keep them in focus, and they're zoomed in miles away. So Not too shabby for a $1,000 camera. And look at the beautiful backdrop. Also, wanted to thank my friends over at TradeLikeAGenius.com. I love these guys. Bob is a legend, literally. They are amazing people over there. They will help you become a trading expert, a trading guru. They eat, drink, sleep, work out, trading cryptos, and also stocks, silver, gold miners. If you're into silver and gold, wait till you learn about silver and gold miners. Wow. There's even more opportunities oftentimes with the miners. But what they do is they help you with the foundation. You can either take trading calls via cell phone alerts or your emails. They can do courses with you in classes, one-on-one classes, group sessions. You can get in with the chat groups and talk with them as well. So they want you to succeed. And as you see right here, these are some of the top cryptos over the past 24 hours. A lot of these cryptos people haven't even heard of. And one of the great things about Trade Like a Genius is you sign up, you can get trade alerts for some incredible opportunities. Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, Ripple. Also, you can learn about some of these other coins. And then when you get into the crypto, or when you get into the silver and gold miners, wonderful opportunity. So check it out. Okay, now I'm also just going to go ahead and zoom around and show you some of the views here, put into perspective how massive these sand dunes are and how incredible technology is these days. Now, there's supposed to be in the mountains in the backdrop a alien base, according to many researchers. There are also reports of UFOs going back hundreds of years. There's petroglyphs that show anomalies in the skies that are hundreds of years old, if not thousands of years old. Look at these people hiking the top there. Isn't that cool? They're way up there. Scientifically, the magnetic anomalies are fascinating. There's a place out there called the UFO Watchtower, which isn't far, Crestone. There's all sorts of anomalies in Crestone. A lot of people out there will do what's called the CE5 protocol, which stands for Close Encounters, the fifth kind. Dr. Stephen Greer set up those protocols. I've seen several videos of incredible footage of people calling UFOs, literally, with these CE5 protocols in Crestone, which are very close to the sand dunes. Got a lot of wonderful still shots, some neat birds out there, and I'm going to go ahead and put some music on now for you. So enjoy this. Hit the subscribe, hit the bell, be well, be the change.
Your business idea needs a website? So go to Wix.com. I know what you're thinking, another Wix ad. But before you...
It's like biblical fashion. It's just...
Want to know who runs the big show here on planet Earth? Now, we're not talking about the divine, but what about those that consider themselves to be like gods? What about those that call themselves the gods? We're going to get into it. Robert Stanley, as well as Jay Campbell, are with me today. And remember, this is for entertainment purposes only. Live action role playing, any correlations or similarities are pure coincidence. Enjoy this and be the change you want to see. Hey everybody, Rex Bear Elite Project, how the heck are you? I've got a couple of legends with us today, and I want to make sure everybody stays safe, so I've got the EMF protection as well as the welding glasses and a little bit of tinfoil. Jay Campbell, oh my goodness, it's great to see you. Robert Stanley, amazing to see you. How the heck are you? What's going on?
No.
Man, this time machine's insane. I tell you, I've been working on it for a while, and we've been foiling the foilers. So check this out. Rex Luthor.
Nice. Looking good. Rex, we're definitely twins now. You just don't have on the UV blockers.
Or 50 pounds of muscle. So I'm working on it. Working on it. I'm doing a lot of push-ups.
Me too.
So,
all of us. There we go.
What's going on, guys? I mean, there's a lot going on around the world, and that's why I like to start off with a little bit of fun, because in a serious world like this, if you're not crazy, you're crazy, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. All right, before we get into this, before we get real deep into this conversation, I do want to thank my friend over at C60 Purple Power, Ken Swartz. This guy is an alchemist. This guy is incredible. He makes some of the best C60 in the universe. If you go to C60purplepower.com, you can pick up your flavor today. You put the lime in the coconut, then you put the C60 in the coconut, and you take a drink. They also have it in avocado. Love it. Now, if you use the code LEAK10, you'll get an additional 10% off. This is the most powerful, most effective antioxidant I have ever had in my life. This puts other products to shame. They don't even they don't even compete. They're not even in the same league. It'd be like comparing amateur blurpity bloops to blippity blops. There's no comparison. C60purplepower.com. Use the code LEAK10, an additional 10% off. They already have specials. Check it out. You'll be glad you did. Now, you sent me something that talks about the fallen angels and the how they've been kind of re-strategizing, and they've created this structure for thousands of years. So I'm going to give you an open platform. I'm going to kick back and listen and take notes and eat non-GMO popcorn.
Are you sure it's non-GMO?
Oh, I'm 100% sure. Forget the GMO, man. Yeah. Glyphosate, no thank you.
Robert, you want to start us off?
Jeez. Where are we starting at the Garden of Eden?
I think so, yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
All right. So one of the books you have to read in order to understand human history is the Book of Enoch, sometimes called 1 Enoch. And trying to understand that obviously has errors in it, but it gives us a much better understanding, especially when you compare it to or add it to all the other narratives about our so-called history here on this world. All of it has to be, you have to take a holistic look in order to get a running start at the bigger picture here, which is really pretty astonishing. You know, even for all of us who've been at this for years, decades, whatever, lifetimes, trying to figure it out. But it's pretty clear that it wasn't just Lucifer, a fallen angel, that interacted with us in the so-called Garden of Eden when we were first planted. The seeds of light, our souls were put here. It seems that there were quite a few other angels that already started the process. So in other words, we see this in Genesis at the very beginning after we are created, and then we see it again in Genesis 6:1-4. We see the fallen angels literally mating with the daughters of men. I would assume that would be the daughters of Adam and Eve. But the intervention, or I should say the interference that it actually began from the moment we arrived in the garden, you know, whatever that is. So we're in that regard, you know, I've had a really hard time understanding or accepting the religious narrative of our sins, right? I think I better stop doing with the quotation marks, but you know,
I think it's good. It works for you.
Yeah, I guess. But anyway, look, a lot of this stuff is a lot of this stuff is in the public record, but it's how you analyze it or interpret it. Obviously, everything's open to interpretation, but some of the stuff that Jay and I have been going back and forth about the watchers, the angels, the fallen angels that came here, they're messengers basically, right? They were messengers who ended up making a giant mess of things here for themselves and us. So, and it's been going on for thousands of years, Rex. This is if you want to decode history, you cannot ignore the fact that these fallen angels have been messing with us since we first were planted here in the garden.
Well, let me jump in on that because I'm glad you brought this up. For some reason, this must be a matrix sync. I have been reading the different Enoch books. I'm on Enoch 2 right now. I'm about
Okay.
halfway through it because I've been, doing sections of it and
Yep.
and decoding it. And one of the things about the first Enoch, though, is when it says the Watchers, they had sex with Earth women, and
Yep.
then the giants were, I think they said 3,000 cubits, which that's what it said in the text.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking to myself, that is the size of almost a mile in height, right?
Yeah, it's
So
ridiculously.
it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So if they were that wrong there, then how did they get all the other stuff right? Or what are we missing? What's the kind of put a block on your research?
You got that.
So this, I bought this actually last July, and because someone on Twitter connected me with the author, his name is Gary Wayne, and said, "Look, Jay, this guy's decoded everything." And I'm like, okay, because at that point in my life last summer, it was a little bit, Bible. I wouldn't say Bible thumping because it's an absolutely amazing decoding. I mean, it's almost 800 pages, and he's got citations. I mean, this guy has gone through history, Rex, and he has just torn it apart. So if there's a book out there that you just mentioned that really breaks things down from Enoch to the entire Bible to all the ancient texts, he's got it. And he's actually classified it and cataloged it. And as Robert knows, he has a website that actually breaks down like little snippets of each chapter and then, kind of just baits you and says, hey, now you need to buy the book. But the only thing I wanted to add to what Robert just said, Rex, that this book decodes this, some other books that Robert and I have read recently. One of them is called Nephilim Apocalypse, which is written by Dean Henderson, which is also a very good book. And then this Dr. Joseph Opar, who also wrote a book in 2017 about the Nephilim. Those guys have essentially decoded our historical narrative as having Moses actually being around during the time of Atlantis. So the disconnect is that we think that Atlantis was this time and age way before the Bible and the flood and all that stuff. But the truth is that, again, according to these researchers, and I think Robert and I are on this wavelength now, is that Noah was the guy who God came to during this Atlantean time where, again, there was so much dark technology, there was so much engineering, there was DNA, mixing. There was just a lot of like really bad stuff. And if you really start looking at the Ark and the Ark of the Covenant, and Robert can talk about this too, but it's probably was a technological ship. It was probably, some sort of a craft, and the animals and the DNA and all that stuff that we heard, again, in the simplistic biblical fashion is just, script for DNA technology and whatever else was put on the Ark, which was a ship most likely to save mankind or our, human, whatever we were at that point. I'm sure we were sapiens, to push us into the next age before the flood and, whatever was coming to wipe out. So that for me has really helped my clarification of like when the time of Atlantis was to now, the antediluvian age to like us now, and whether it was 10,000 years ago, 8,000 years ago, I don't think anybody knows.
Yeah, but that didn't answer his question about the giants, Rex.
Sorry.
It's a good. No, it's all right. This is really complex. Okay, this is why it's difficult to understand the bigger picture, because it's very complex and also very convoluted by design. They don't really want us to know this stuff about our history, right?
Right.
So this is why we've been putting so much effort into trying to figure it out. The giants are just one version of what the fallen angels created. They have a whole range of different things that they created. Nephilim is just a word. There's different categories within that nephilistic hybrid genetic experimentation or development, breeding, basically all kinds of weird stuff, and Edgar Casey talked a little bit about it in his readings. He saw some weird things, but other people, I mean, if you look back at Enoch, you could see this is crazy, Rex. Honestly, something happened in the garden with this entity, and I believe it was angelic. She's always pictured with wings. Is Lilith. Lilith seems to be the counterpart of Lucifer, who goes again by, we've talked about this before, many different names, but specifically in the garden, it's Samael.
Right.
At least in Enoch 1,
Right.
that's how he's described.
Right.
So, and what's really nuts too about this is the way that they seem to be counterpoints of the same entity. In other words, an androgynous entity that is messing with both Adam and Eve from the very beginning. And you got to understand, a lot of this stuff was left out of the Bible or taken out later because these fallen angels and all of their minions and their offspring do not want us to know anything about them, or more importantly, they know they can't hide themselves entirely, but they've been distorting the narrative or completely censoring, erasing it, just like they're trying to do a lot of. We've been getting serious technical difficulties lately. The other day I was on with Jay, and they just cut me off. I was able to come back, but a few days before that, I was invited Jay on my show. Somebody cut the internet at KGRA. Couldn't broadcast. And we couldn't broadcast the show. It came on a couple hours later after my show slot was up. So, and what's really nuts, Rex, is I was told this a few weeks ago, just before what was it? Palm Sunday. Yeah. The week of Palm Sunday is when this all started for me. I woke up one morning and I had a very strong message that had come to me. It said, we would like you to ask the people on Earth, the humans, the good humans, to invite us to assist them. Now, they are, in my opinion, are the angels of light, the good, benevolent beings that I've been in touch with now for decades, at least, probably lifetimes. Maybe they really are my family. Like I told you that whole story about my father on the mountain in the realm of light. So I'm pretty sure that they gave me this message and it seemed pretty clear. And I'm like, okay, I can do that. But there was also a caveat. They said, you need to be prepared that each show that you do about this topic could be your last. And it wasn't like trying to scare me. They were just being very practical about the fact that this is truly taboo. It's like the third rail of research here. You start going down this path and you're going to absolutely piss off these Nephilim and fallen angels, the watchers. And sure enough, yeah, that came true. Also, that same day, I told my wife, I woke up this morning and I said, wow, I got this message and I need to do this. I just want you to be aware of the fact that I'm going to do this. And I don't think we need to be scared about it, but I just need to tell you, this is what I'm going to do. What I agreed to do going forward. That's going to be the focus of my messaging. And so that afternoon when we had lunch, I looked up on the bookshelf. It's not very big in my house because my wife always wants me to get rid of my books. I don't know why. So she doesn't. It's clutter, But to me, it's cool. Right? Anyway, yeah, no, I have that all, but I mean, I'm old school, Rex. I'm 60
I was joking. That's probably what she's telling you. Yeah.
No, she just doesn't. Okay, look, everybody's got their own thing, but she's got a little bit of OCD when it comes to cleaning or organizing, and she likes me to give away my stuff. Anyway, that makes her happy.
Yeah, that's cool.
So I looked up on the shelf though, and I see this book about angels that I had found in a library last year when I was living in Palm Springs, and I thought, whoa, okay, I got the message this morning, and now I said I should probably read that book. I take it down, and I didn't crack it open until later that evening. I was just like, holy God, what is this? It's a novel. I'm sure Jay told you a little bit about it. I think no, didn't we send you a link?
No, we haven't told him anything.
Oh,
no.
God. Okay, so there's two novels, Angelology and Angelopolis. And it's written by the same author. Thank you. That's the second one. I normally don't read novels, Rex. I really don't have time for that, entertainment. But as soon as I started peeling open the book, I was like blown away because here you go again. It was laying out the conflict that's going on between the angels, God, the angels of light, mankind, or specific units, groups of people that work together. They're called angelologists. The field they're in is called angelology. The people who practice it are called angelologists. But they're not just bookworms sitting in a library, just twiddling their thumbs going, tough beans, everybody's screwed. The original sin was we mated with these freaking fallen angels, or they mated with us, however you want to look at it, tainted our DNA, screwed with our spirit. Remember, I told you soul control. Well, these are the guys that are, and women, or whatever you want to call them, these are the ones that are doing it to us. And it's all played out in these two novels, more or less, right? I mean, we know it's fiction, but it's based on fact. Okay. So that's how I started a conversation with Jay about this. I go, man, you got to read these books.
And then he just blew my mind. And I mean, just to add to what he's saying, I mean, Rex, these books are not fiction. Now they're fictionalized,
Right.
but for people like you, me, Robert, and people at our level who, you know, have done all the work and the research and stuff, like you're reading this and you're, it's like an explosion in your head. Like atoms are firing. You're like, what?
chills up your back. It's radical.
There's actually a part in it, I won't give it away, but there's a part where they summons an angel of light, and dude, it is literally, I mean, skin crawling, but also awe-inspiring. Like if you're a person of the light, to think of like what that must be like.
Yeah, what was it like?
Well, look, that's what happened to me, Rex. That's what happened to me up on the mountain that night. Because I was meditating and praying on love. I didn't realize I was summoning anybody at the time. I was just trying to, you know, overcome the attacks of the dark side that I had somehow become enmeshed in. But that being, you know, that said he was my father, this being of light, that is what we would call an angel, for sure, an angel of light. And there's no way. I know. Look, you and I met on the pretense that of what I'd said about Lucifer being my father, right? Enki, specifically Enki, right? So the reason, I'm sure now, looking back on it after doing deep dive into all this angelic or angel, just an avalanche of information about them and our relationship with them, both good and bad and everything in between, I realized that the reason I had to go down that path and to like intimately get involved with Lucifer, get into his head, get into his mindset and his bloodline, right? His little domain, is because if I hadn't done that, I never would have understood all this other stuff. I never would have been able to put it in the proper context. So it wasn't exactly a mistake. It was part of my life lesson that I could then help others to see this bigger picture of how screwed up we are. And yes, we make mistakes, Rex, but we have been led astray so badly on so many levels by these entities.
It's a circus.
I'm not sure where if it's one Enoch or two, but do you remember, Rex, when Samael comes into the garden and leaves a child with Adam and Eve to take care of? Okay, so yeah, we'll have to tell him this story, Jay. I read this thing over 30 years ago, that passage we're going to talk about in here, Rex, and I did not understand it. It sounded like complete lunacy to me. Even though I read a lot, I still do, but at the time, and I comprehend what I read fairly well, but this was so bizarre, I couldn't understand it. And even when I read it just a couple weeks ago, I didn't understand it. Jay's like, well, here it is, boom, I was like, what, So I had to read it again, and then I went, oh my God, this is where all the pedophilia and child sacrifice and cannibalism and all this crap, this is where it all came from. So in Enoch, it talks about Samael, Lucifer, whatever you want to call him, Enki, coming into the garden, leaving a young male child and he says, watch this child for me. Okay. Take care of this child. So allegedly he then leaves, and Adam and Eve are left with this child that won't stop screaming. It's having a temper tantrum, right? That's the way those are the words I would use. You can relate to that. Yeah. The kid will not stop screaming. So what does Adam do? He whacks it in the head and kills it. And yet, according to Enoch, the screaming continues. So what do they do next? What would you do, Rex? Chop up the child and eat it? That's what it says in Enoch, okay? So and that's why I was so repulsed by that, and it made no sense, because even after they ate the child, they still heard the screaming, and then guess who shows up again? Samael.
Our friend.
Samael, and says, where's the child? And they both lied and said, what child? We didn't see him. We don't know where he is. They just basically made up all these lies. And then it gets weirder, as if you can imagine how weird this crap is. supposedly now the soul or the spirit of this entity that they have now killed and consumed is speaking directly from them, from inside them to Samael, and saying, I'm going to, essentially, I'm paraphrasing now, I'm going to possess these two forever. I, and so now they're freaked out. That's why they were kicked out of the garden, according to Enoch. I know. That's how I felt, Rex. When I read it the first time, I thought, no way. Even the second time, I'm thinking, this can't be right. But then Jay kind of put my nose in this pile of shit and said, look at this. Look at what we our ancestors allegedly did, eating a child. If that isn't satanic, I mean, what is? It's like it's the origin, it's the nexus of how we got to this point where Satanists have to drink the blood and eat the children and all that crap. The other thing about the giants, Rex, is they say they were cannibals. Most of them, they would consume flesh, and they like to eat people. Wow. So there's more of that. But okay, you remember last time you and I talked, and we went through this whole presentation that I put together about the tree of knowledge of good and evil, right? It was actually a cell tower.
Yeah, the me.
But where's if you have a cell tower, then where's this thing? Where how do they get one? Where was this? Well, that's also in the book of Enoch. I quoted you this before from other sources because it's so-called Jewish mysticism. Like, it's all a myth. It's just a freaking fable. Why make this up? So after God kicks out Adam and Eve for killing this child that Samael brought in, God, according to Enoch, whatever God he's talking to, says, he could see they were completely freaked out naturally, not only because they were kicked out of the garden, but they just did something. They learned to lie. They're completely screwed up now because of what Samael basically set them up. God, whatever God that is, says, oh, I see you're suffering. Here, let me give you a book that will help you deal with Samael. Now, the book contained all the secrets of the universe, and it was presented to them through an angel named Raziel. So it's often referred to as the book of Raziel.
Right.
It's made of blue sapphires.
Right.
Well, Rex, there's no way that you could make a book out of stone, but you can make those digital devices that glow blue and look.
Blue
see,
light.
it actually looks like a stone. If a person who doesn't understand technology, if you handed this to them, they say, "Oh, that's stone."
Yeah, like a black.
But it's a book.
stone. Yeah.
It looks kind of like well, actually, it would be larger than this. It would probably be a tablet-sized device.
Right.
And remember we talked about this in the Sumerian, the kings, or the gods that they had access to these tablets of destiny.
Yeah, they're always holding them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and they would use them for, like, they had apps in there that would for medicine or medical communications, warfare, transportation, weather control, all this crap. Well, just like we do with apps today. So anyway, that book was the angels. I don't know which one. I'm assuming it's the fallen angels. They got upset, and they stole this book, this digital device, from Adam and Eve, and threw it in the ocean. God, this is all in Enoch. I'm not making it. I know this is like the weirdest damn movie. You can't even imagine. God, whatever God this is, says to the other angels, go get the book,
Right.
bring it back to Adam and Eve, which they do. And then, so they have this book with all the secrets. It contains all the secrets of the universe, Rex. You think that'll fit into a book? You ever seen a book that has all the secrets of the universe? No. But 60 gigabytes right here, you could put a lot of secrets in there. Right. So, or a tablet, whatever. The book of Raziel that was given to Adam and Eve is then passed on through their generations, ultimately through Methuselah, Enoch, to Noah, who uses the book to build the ark.
Right. Right.
And more importantly, he builds a golden chest to house the book, which it says in book Enoch, it says it allowed him to tell time. When he was inside the ark where there was no light, he also had a device that glowed, a stone that glowed, and that's how they were able to see. So now, okay, you got to understand something about these angels. These watchers gave us their technology, Rex. It's not for our benefit. It was so that we would become dependent. You think we're dependent on technology now? Hell no. This is not new. We've always been dependent on some level on them, because that's the way they designed it.
What do you have to say about that, Jay?
Yeah, Jay.
I mean, everything he's saying is true. I mean, I would just, the add to what he was saying is that now we understand why we have transgenerational trauma.
Yeah.
Through all of the descendants and the generations of humans. Like, we're literally born into this world with this trauma. Again, I think of the sins of the father, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Robert just pretty much said it. So essentially this entire game, and we have so much to cover, I don't want to accelerate it, but the whole game of being a human being and physical is to integrate your trauma. To figure out like how you can, I don't want to say go deep religious and say absolved of the sins, but essentially you have this transgenerational traumatic stain, on your soul from all of this. And it's just integration of that trauma, or, what part or what realm relative to your dependence or your connection to those, to the genetics of the different tribes. Because obviously we're all connected. We always talk about unity, right? Like, we know from a soul level, we're all connected. So as Robert said, I mean, to have that going on from the origin of our species, the atom, and then the whole idea, I mean, we'll talk about it, but the whole idea of Lilith also showing up and how she's been like covered up in all the ancient texts. Somebody sent us a message the other day and said that if you look into the Gnostic teachings and texts also, that really Lilith and Lucifer is just the name for Yaldabaoth and Sophia, and it's just a combination.
How would they?
What?
Sorry to interrupt. I'm just
No,
wondering.
fine.
Please.
I love the Nag Hammadi scriptures, and one of my favorite books is the Secret Book of John, describing Yaldabaoth, and then they get into the 365 demons and angels, and the mother of all demons is named Matter, and so they kind of sound like the fallen ones in the technology. But how do you get that connection with Lilith? Because there's a lot that describes Sophia, but I've never seen that Lilith connection, so that'd be fascinating to hear about.
Yeah, I can send you some of that stuff. You know what I would highly suggest, if people want more on this information, go to my website at unicusmagazine.com and just scroll down. You'll see the thing, the Angel Archive, the big white wings. Click on that, and there's a ton of references in there that I am in the process of adding to, because in the past few weeks between Jay and I, we've been going back and forth on this thing, kind of feeding each other information, and I've just got a mountain of stuff, Rex.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy. And I'm also putting in videos, presentations of different people, including ourselves, about this topic, because this is not just idle gossip. This is not, like a small thing at all. It's everything, man. It's everything about if we don't understand this, we're never going to get to the next level of being.
Yeah, because when we start talking about Jack Parsons and the Collins Elite, it's going to tie it all in from a historical narrative, Rex, and it's going to be like, it's like Robert said. I mean, for all three of us, especially you, Rex, I mean, you've done so many interviews and you've talked to so many different people, but there's just been so much deception. We've all been deceived by the fallen ones. And it really, and again, I don't want to skip ahead, but it really goes to the deception of the aliens and the channeling and all these different things.
Ascended Masters, don't forget those guys.
Yeah, the Great White Brotherhood, the Inner Earth, the Garthans. I mean, it just goes on and on. Betraya, my Lord Maitra, Theosophy. I mean, everything is a corruption of them. Everything, bro. Everything.
So that's a pretty powerful statement to make then.
I'm sorry, I'll make it.
Well, and I appreciate that, but let me ask you a question then. So how long ago do you see the information you put together? How long ago did they take over? When did that happen?
It's been since day one, dude.
Since we've
been
first
playing games.
Yeah, since we first were put on this world, Rex.
It's a big
Put us
game.
here. They essentially created the body, the vessel, and found a way to harness or capture our soul essence into this body. Is that it? And then there's like a recycle center?
No. There seems to be a conflict going on even before we showed up. The so-called war in heaven between these different factions who are related. It's more like a family feud.
Right.
And some of the family have gone completely rogue, criminal, and violating the covenant or the directives that were given to them by the Creator. What now? That's open for interpretation, obviously, but it seems like the difference I've been telling you guys for years now is about the level of energy or the type of energy that one side embodies is resonance, it's sustainable, it's loving, compassion, etc. It's creativity. Whereas this other group that has fallen into dissonance, they're dark, they're manipulative, they can't tell the truth.
And they hate us.
They really hate us because here's the other thing. The reason we were put here as seeds of light, it was to develop to germinate into something amazing.
Right.
By the Creator of the cosmos, not just a solar system. It's not just some dude sitting on a freaking throne somewhere, ruling over a part of the galaxy. It's not like an empirical thing. There's something really much higher going on.
Yeah.
So with that being said, now we're gonna. You want to jump onto the Parsons connections? Yeah. So before we do, though, I gotta say this is fascinating because Greg Allison, he's a good friend of mine. He's also literally a contractor for NASA. He makes rockets. He's a rocket builder. He has a Guinness Records. He has a record in the Guinness Book of World Records in the year 2000 for launching a rocket so high up into space. But we went out to that area called Devil's Dam.
Devil's Gate Dam.
Devil's Gate Dam. We went there one night, Greg and I did, and we had an opportunity to explore that area. I did a podcast live when I was there.
Wow. But
we also went underneath this tunnel that's out there that's been in several films, even Back to the Future 2, I think. It was in Back to the Future 2. And when we walked in that tunnel, Greg went, I go, Hugh, and then Greg goes, Halo. And as soon as he did that, you could see this light anomaly. We both got it on two different cameras. This light anomaly came out and went, whoa, and it like flowed with the way that he said halo. Wow. We're looking for all these ways to debunk it. Were you wearing a watch? Was it a car light? No, it wasn't a watch. It wasn't a car light. It was something really cool. And I felt like we went out there and that whole thing happened for a reason. I almost felt like it was a part of a ritual that we didn't know we were we're a part of, but we're not a part of. Like we don't realize it consciously, but something's going on, kind of pulling the strings to put us where we were, and all of that. The way the whole thing happened seemed like higher level consciousness.
Well, did you notice that the face carved into the stone there looks like a demon or a devil?
Oh yeah.
So you saw that part too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's very similar to reminiscent of the stuff I found in Malibu.
Yeah.
I think the stuff I found in Malibu is a little more distinct, but it's very similar. And you get the full stone face profile, and there's clearly some wild stuff going on there.
I think we're going to take you down that path pretty soon, Rex.
Big rabbit hole.
Was Jack Parsons did the media spin his name? Was he really a bad guy, or was he just like, hey man, I want to see what I can do. Let's go have an orgy and make rockets. Yeah, with LSD. All right.
No, he was a disciple of Aleister Crowley,
Yeah.
and who had also done a working or a ritual to open up a portal to this other dimension where these fallen angels are. They're not just here, Rex. They're kind of limited. They're imprisoned. This is again why I was given this message some 3 weeks ago. The reason that the good, benevolent angels are asking us to ask them for assistance in this matter is because if we don't, there's a limitation. There's restrictions on how much assistance that they can give us openly. They're still here. The good guys are still here watching and helping, because they know exactly what we're up against. Yes. And they're not going to let us get completely steamrolled. However, there is a certain time frame here where we all of us that are still good seeds are being given an opportunity to decide, and that time is coming very short now.
Very soon.
Where it's going to end. Our opportunity to decide whether or not we want to reconnect with the light and go forward and move into to our full potential, or do we want to willingly go into the dark side and work with these fallen entities? And it's not just the fallen angels, it's all the minions that they created, the hybrids and stuff.
They've got a lot.
The Nephilim. So, when you said NASA, we were talking about this, it's not funny. NASA, actually, in my opinion, is Nephilim Aeronautics Space Agency.
Yep.
Just like New World Order. Jay figured that out. It's the Nephilistic
Nephilim World
or
Order.
Nephilim World Order. Because they're the ones, they're the elite, Rex. They're the blue bloods. They're the royalty. They're the rulers. They're the 1% that run everything here on behalf of their overlords, the fallen angels.
So Rex,
Sometimes
let me,
referred to as,
oh,
go
sorry,
ahead.
go ahead, Robert. I was
No,
just going to say, I just want to tie this together with you for Parsons right now, so you know, because this was a revelational thing for me and Robert too. And I know you've done a lot of work on Jack Parsons, and you've had a lot of people talk about it on the shows. But this, so anyway, so Nick Redfern, and I think you've had him on your show before, right?
Oh yeah, very knowledgeable author, researcher. Yes.
Okay, so Nick wrote a book in 2010 called
Final Events.
Yeah, Final Events. Sorry, couldn't think of the name of the book. And he interviewed these men, supposedly from this government, very, very compartmentalized, off the records, not listed. You cannot Google any information about them, called the Collins Elite. Now, here's what the Collins Elite was, according to Nick, also according to a couple of guys, Ray Boucher, and some other people who have had meetings or intermediary meetings with these folks in the last 20 years. This group was formed by the Eisenhower or the Truman, actually it would have been the Truman administration. Truman administration to investigate all of the anomalous things that started happening in the late 40s, right? We had all these UFOs show up. They created this group to investigate. They started to investigate Parsons. They actually got Parsons to admit that he had opened a portal along with L. Ron Hubbard, and that all sorts of shit came through. UFOs, demonic entities, all sorts of stuff that he couldn't even explain. Now, Rex, he admitted this, and this is on record. You can actually go into the Freedom of Information and get this stuff from the federal government, that he admitted opening this portal and they all came in. Now, here's the craziest part. Right when it happened, the first sighting was the Kenneth Branagh sighting in Mount Rainier in Washington. Robert knows more about this.
Kenneth Arnold,
I'm sorry. 9 UFOs showed up over Mount Rainier, right? Now, here's the crazy thing about the channel and all this stuff. In the last 50 years, we have heard so many channels talk about the 9. The 9. I could give you a bunch of different people. I'm not going to mention names because I don't want to get in trouble. But that's what showed up, okay? Then they got Parsons to admit in their investigation. And then literally in 1952, in June, Parsons blew himself up. And within a month, Robert?
the next month, July.
1 month later, all the UFOs invaded Washington, D.C. And at that point, the Collins Elite, this group, had already concluded, and again, based on talking to Parsons and doing all the other research, and they had done some really good stuff. These guys are smart guys. That it was interdimensional demons, that this was literally not UFOs or ETs or anything like that. And it was interdimensional demons. And this was like literally the holy war, as Robert said, the war in heaven. But then when the attack or all the UFOs invading, into DC airspace, so many groups inside our federal government got involved in the investigation. And then that's when the fallen, whatever these beings are, demons, Nephilim, whatever you want to call them,
Infiltrated.
Yeah, essentially. And brainwashed all of these groups that they were benevolent space aliens. And then they got into everybody's head. And then, as you know, it became George Adamski, the Venusians, Valiant Thor. I mean, you could just name all of these people as the benevolent space brothers here to help. And then, Rex, I'm telling you, and Robert and I have decoded this, ever since then, it's been this ET race, Hollywood influencing it. I mean, it goes on and on and on. It's been all this ET. And then the Collins Elite, unfortunately, what were they going to do? It was their group in one, and now you've got hundreds of groups inside the federal government with compartmentalized access and all of this different stuff. Now, here's the craziest part. I'm going to let Robert pick this up. But they also found out, Rex, that the only way that you could communicate with these beings was through ritual sex magic, sacrifice, drinking of blood. I mean, this was horrific. And not only did they find that out, they also realized that groups inside the U.S. government, high-level groups, I mean, I don't have to give you the alphabet agencies, were concocting these themselves to communicate with these entities, which are obviously fallen angels. Go ahead, Robert. You can.
Yeah. So the other aspect or component of that, Rex, is what they call sacrament, and you see that a lot in right now. It's in the CIA has admitted this, as well as people in Silicon Valley. They all talk about that they're communicating with these entities by taking certain psychotropic drugs,
Right.
you know, or components like whatever, LSD or DMT or
Psilocybin, right?
well, not so much psilocybin, but ayahuasca. You know, all of those components, all that so-called sacrament, that allows you to a person to have communion with these individuals. And it's typically a very bad experience for most people, or it's a deal. You're literally making a deal. It's like, we're going to give you technology or information that you can use to your advantage over other humans, but you can't use it against us. There's limitations, restrictions, or whatever, and the whole thing is just a setup. If you ask me, it always ends badly for people that go down that path.
Do you think that there's 200 fallen angels? Do you think that number was accurate in the Book of Enoch when they said?
Yeah,
There's
they
200
say that those were just among them, though. I think that's where you get the 9, is you have the leadership, the
Right.
ones that originally said, look, here's what I propose, and I don't want to suffer this consequences on my own. Who's going to stand with me? But see, this is predisposing, assuming that it all happened here, as opposed to something that had already taken place. You see, this is the problem we have, Rex, is we're apparently stuck on a battlefield here, which is a hell of a place to plant seeds, or infants, or whatever we are, you know, in our infancy as souls. It's a really strange thing to do. And so the other problem is that, as I told you before, is that the first casualty of war is always truth. Right. You know, propaganda is a huge problem on both sides. I think, you know, we're obviously more bombarded by the dark side with their narrative. Their nonsense most of the time is complete idiocy. Some of the lies that they tell us, like we're alone, you know, there's no other life, it's just us until we tell you so. And if we do tell you so, it's got to be on our terms only, you know, so-called disclosure. That's a load of crap. I always felt that was the case, but they're constantly messing with us by creating these boogeymen, or straw men, basically, and then knocking them down, right? With the so-called the truth movement, or the just ask the ascended masters to help, or whatever it is. But clearly we've been compromised. I mean, this is one of the reasons I don't belong to any organizations. I don't follow any of them, because they're all corrupt or compromised. And I know there's good people in them for sure, but
Just like in
generally
government.
speaking, yeah, they're all compromised, and they cannot tell, even if they know the truth. You know, one of the things about the Collins elite, which basically is a bunch of whether they call themselves or not, they're angelologists, Rex. They're dealing with the fallen angels, and if they were smart, they would have reached out to the benevolent angels, but
Well, we don't know if they did.
we don't know. See, that's the thing. This is one of the things about the novels that we told you about, those 2 novels. It makes it really obvious that angelology is dangerous, and it's something that it goes on behind the scenes, because it is so damn dangerous, not just for the general public to know, but because it really would destabilize civilization. You know,
100%.
if they told us the truth. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Jay.
I just want to add something to what Robert's saying. I told you, Rex, this is pretty not mind-blowing. And we got more, dude. I mean, honestly, like, this is the kind of stuff, when Robert and I were realizing this in the last 2 weeks, bro, we haven't been able to sleep. Like, we're tying
hundreds of
some
text
things
messages
together.
on this, Rex, and documents flying back and forth between Jay and I every day and night.
Well, let me jump in on that,
Go ahead.
because it's another matrix sync here, in my opinion. Because a couple of weeks ago, maybe it was even last week, I was putting together. I called it the 13, the family of 13, and I was just kind of using that in code words.
Sure.
But I've been doing so much research on the Book of Enoch the past couple of weeks as well, and I'm not going to say any names, and I would prefer you didn't either.
We won't.
There's one passage in particular that I figured out. I figured out a key component, and it's linking to what you guys are talking about.
Yes.
This is so wild because I've been talking about the fallen, and the number 322, Genesis 322, read it, and wow, I'll leave it at that. Read it, and you might go, oh, 322.
Yeah, the
I
skull and
understand
bones.
now.
Yeah, is
Okay,
that
so-
we're not supposed to say the skull and bones? Sorry.
What's that? I've never heard of that before.
Hold on. So this is the craziest part, and I know you know this, Rex, from your interviewing of people, but you probably don't know this. And Robert and I didn't know this either. This is the ultimate 2-card Monty hand. But when Eisenhower met, right, with this so-called top secret alien meeting at Holloman Air Force Base in 1952, which I know you're familiar of, we're both familiar of, you know, they said he had an emergency dental thing, right? And he just disappeared off the grid. And obviously it's very, very public record inside the federal government nowadays about that. But we were told that he was meeting with, you know, the Nordic types, benevolent, white-robed, blue-haired, blonde-eyed, you know, blonde-haired, blonde-haired.
That would be
blue-eyed.
interesting.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Those types.
I like blue hair, blonde eyed people.
So you know, who were going to give us tech if we gave up our nukes.
Yeah, just give
And
up
then
your
the
name.
second group was the Greys. And the Greys didn't want us to give up anything. They just wanted to steal some people, you know, take our
Abduct,
resources
yeah.
and build underground tunnels or whatever, and, you know, be left alone. And so the military general, the junta, you know, they said, oh, we can't give up our nukes. So we'll make the deal with the Graves. Well, the Collins elite and, you know, the research that we've been able to find out, Gary Wayne, some of these other guys, they found out that both groups, the Benevolence and the Greys, were the same fallen angels. So they were literally playing both sides of the coin. So no matter what choice we made, we agreed. Because as you know, Rex, it's universal law. Always. We must give them our consent. So since that day, and then, you know, technology blew up, the integrated circuits, Roswell, computers, everything has just blown up technologically from then because we said yes. And then, as you know, and God, look around, right? Just look at the last 10 years, the acceleration, you know, quantum computing, everything. It's just now a technologically enslaved world. And, well, hello, we know how it got there.
Yeah, and that's why Eisenhower was freaking out towards the end of his life, and having heart attacks and stuff, because he realized that we've been duped. You know, the thing about Collins Elite too, I forgot to mention, is that even though there were some people within that group that were, you could say, fundamental Christians,
Right.
or at least realized the good side was something that they wanted to work with. They were overridden by other members of the same group who were saying, no, we want to work with the dark side.
Right.
And we'll make a deal with them, and it'll be to our advantage.
Exactly. And they were doing literally ritual sex magic and sacrifices to connect with them even then. So imagine what they do to your brain when you play that game. I mean, as soon as you go down into here, you know, your vibration drops into here. They're easily piloting you. We know they pilot you.
Yeah.
Let me add to that then. I think this is interesting. The interface now that we're dealing with, this digital interface, virtually everything we do has some type of digital connection.
Right.
Are they going to create a full integrated system where everything has some type of digital connection so that they can not only interfere with it, but also maybe overtake it in a sense of using electronics as a medium?
Yeah, absolutely. You hit the key word there is electronics. Rex, you know we're electrochemical beings on a physical level. On a soul level, it's all about what we call electricity.
Exactly.
The web of light that I told you about is electric. It is a conveyor of electricity or light or information, life, whatever you want to call it. But that's being overridden. The frequencies of ever since like the 1820s is when so basically about 200 years, we have been influenced by the fallen ones to develop this dark technology that we call now electricity. Did you know we don't generate. We call them generators, but they don't generate electricity. They actually harvest. When the coils spin, they're harvesting the electromagnetic fields or the cosmic web of light that's connected to the planet. They're literally harvesting those fields and then distilling it and broadcasting it. Just like you take oil out of the ground, right? And you turn it into pollution and all kinds of crap. Just like we take radioactive material out of the ground and turn it into something toxic, they have taken something natural and beautiful and life supporting electricity and it influenced us to create a technology just like they had in Atlantis that is based on dissonance. And it's called electronic smog or electro pollution. There's a book, I just posted this book today. I gave
The
it
Electric
to
Rainbow.
no, it's called The Invisible Rainbow. I
The
posted
Invisible
the link.
Rainbow, yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Rex, this is really important. Let me just read this really quick because hold on, come on. Why isn't it? I guess I can't do anything while I'm still. What did I send you? Oh, okay. Apparently this recording is taking control of my computer. Anyway, it said that every time that we increase the level of electronic smog through radio or television or whatever, the whole population suffers something that we call influenza. Does that sound familiar?
Oh,
So our bodies can't handle that. It's because here's what's happening in this book, The Invisible Rainbow. It says that the Schumann resonance is really what they're saying there is our connection to the cosmos or the cosmic web of light. That's what they're calling it. I know you and I talked about the electricity before, but this is really important. We are literally being cut off. The frequency of the dissonance, and it's not just like so. I'm trying to tell you, they keep ramping it up over the last 200 years. Now we're at 5G, and going. The reason being is because that's the frequencies that they are comfortable with. The fallen angels,
Right.
They are comfortable. Their domain, which is close to us, but it's above us or outside of our realm. At some point, when we reach a threshold, Rex, they're going to be able to come in, and it'll be like no problem for them.
Right, exactly. They'll be manipulated. They'll be in and out. Like they'll be in 3D with us. And by the way, just to add to what you're saying, dude, their primary goal is recreating Atlantis.
Right.
Because in their mind, Atlantis, before it fell, was right there, Rex, technologically, to blow a hole in the dimensional warp so that they could. I mean, there's an interview in that one of the documentaries that we didn't talk about, but it's called what was it called? The Lost Identity, or what was that? The
Higher Entities.
Higher Entities, Robert,
Yeah.
which Rex is really, really good. That Robert and I watched over the weekend. But they interviewed a guy, and they said that the goal was to rip a hole in the portal because they honestly feel that they're going to fight God and win, which is obviously shows you how homicidal, psychopathically that these Nephilim fallen angels are. But they actually are mounting up, preparing to fight God, and they really think they're going to win. Some of the research that we've looked at shows how simple it was that they were warping John Dee's, Sir Francis Bacon, right? Sir Francis Bacon was the mastermind behind the United States, the New Atlantis. He was the guy.
Yeah.
He was the guy behind this entire country. You know, when the founders, you know, were given it to as kind of a precedent in the late 16th century or early 17th century. So the bottom line, all of the people, I'm not going to mention any more names than him, but, you know, as we gotten closer, you know, we could think of the people like in the early World War I, World War II, you know, the great dictators. I don't need to mention names. But they were all influenced, Rex, by these beings or their minions. And their minions, by the way, were always like great persuaders. Edward Bernays. I mean, I can give you so
Watson.
many people. Yes.
Yeah. Watson, all those people, the eugenics movement, it's
Yes.
all coming from the dark side, from these fallen
All of
angels and their minions, the Nephilim.
Exactly. All of it, Rex.
This
Every
is
bit.
really interesting because I had a conversation yesterday with my friend Diamond from Oppenheimer Ranch about, you know, I said, Diamond, why don't you believe in aliens, man? Because there's this one guy, I said, I'm cool with that. I'm just wondering. And he's like, well, Rex, there's this book you should read called Five by, I think it's by Adrian D'Amico or something. And you're talking about the different civilizations And he described once you get to a level 2 civilization, even there would be absolutely no reason for traveling different planets and doing
Right.
abductions and experiments on
Right.
people and any type of these ritualistic things you're talking about. So I'm wondering if these beings that they made contact with that you're describing, they come from somewhere else. It's not like I just don't see it being in this particular visible universe, because if it was, and if they were so advanced, like, why are they doing what they do? Why is it so important for them to do these kind of disgusting rituals and hurt people and harm life? It's the opposite, right? Like when most people think, okay, well, continuation of life is a good thing. You want to help people, you want to help your family, you want to help your friends, you want to help the world, and do what you can. And then these things are like, let's just destroy it, let's ruin it, let's sacrifice it. Why are they? Is it like, are they mad?
Yeah.
Are they like, do they feel like they didn't get something, so it's like a revenge mechanism for them? I mean, do they feel like they should have been given this, so they're jealous of us? What is
Right.
it?
There's some of that. There's all of that and more. I think that we can't quite understand, Rex, because we're not psychopathic. We're not evil. We're not in the dark side. It's like you can't. How can you rationalize the criminal mind? They violated allegedly. They violated a directive, which was to watch over this new creation on this world.
Well,
And go ahead.
well, let me just jump in. I get the falling for hot women thing. I get that. We've all been there, right? So the story behind it is they fall in love with women because they're so beautiful, and then they go and they have sex, right? Were they
But it
evil,
started
or were they just like, dude, those chicks are freaking hot, man?
Yeah, but it started before that, Rex. That's why I
Right,
started in the garden. There was already, the leadership was already doing this without all the other.
I see what you're saying, right? Like
See,
you brought
and-
up earlier.
Yeah, and the other
Okay.
thing is we don't have an accurate timeline. I wish we did, man, because I used to do that. I learned to do that when I was working at Honda Research and Development. You can see it in my 2 books. I did timelines about the hidden history of UFOs in Washington, D.C., and you can see the trends. You can analyze them clearly. If you have enough data and it's accurate, you start to get a very good understanding of the ebb and flow, right? But we're not getting that. We don't have access by design. The fallen ones have done a really good job. Now, they had to have some physicality, Rex, or there's no way they could have mated with us.
Right.
Well, and then the Nephilim are physical.
They're
right?
the hybrid. They're the offspring of the
And
mating.
exactly, and they're carrying out the will of their bosses, which are their fathers, the Nephil. I mean, the fallen ones. So, but Rex, one of the things too we hacked through that we have to talk to you about with the Nephilim is the egg.
Oh God. Let's ask a question, Rex. Why do we during Easter, the time of resurrection of Christ, allegedly? What's the thing about Easter eggs? Do you have any idea?
Well, I thought it was more connected with Isis, which would be Inanna or Ishtar, the queen of heaven, and she's, fertility. So bunnies are connected to fertility, and that's where I thought that might have came from.
You're
That's
actually
the
on the
ignorance.
path.
You're getting close. I figured, Jay, I figured this out the other day though, because I see these rabbits everywhere around the house where I'm living.
Horny
now.
rabbits. Sorry.
Yeah.
They're fallen angels too, man. I knew it.
No.
I knew it. I'm sorry.
No,
I'll stop.
it's a kind of the whole thing is coded and it's hidden in front of our faces.
Plain sight.
Rabbits live underground. The fallen angels live in the underworld.
Right.
And so here's the thing, Rex, and in the book number 2, Angelopolis, it talks about the royal families all want to be have the most purest blood connection to the fallen angels.
Yes.
Now, there's a whole debate as to whether angels have wings or not. Some of them do. At this point, I'm just going to say some do, some do not.
Right.
All right, but the more pure blood angels,
Do.
they do. And Rex, where do feathered creatures come from? Eggs. And so as you see in the book, it's like this is where the whole concept came from. It's sort of like a joke on us, is that we can't understand it, is that and then why they tied it in with Christ is because they think of themselves as elevated over us, right?
Or
And
coward.
yet it says we're told somewhere in the scriptures it says that someday that we would rule over the angels. They what they forgot to put in there was rule over the fallen angels because we will be elevated above them. But in the meantime, the Nephilim, the elite, the blue bloods, they all worship, like Jay was saying, they all work for the fallen angels, their fathers. But they also know that if somebody in their family, like you said, the 13 blood families, those are all Nephilim,
Yeah.
every
All
last one of them. But yes, every last one of the 13 families has
Nephilim.
blue blood or purple blood or whatever you call it is directly related to they're related to these fallen angels by blood. Okay, so if one of them could give birth to a more angelic hybrid, it would be literally through an egg
Yes.
at birth, birthing an egg. I know, and let me just, the day I got that book was right around Easter. My wife had downloaded some stuff off the internet from the White House with a little line drawing of Easter egg, because you can't go do Easter eggs. You can't go out. You can't socially be
Right.
close to anybody or whatever. So they said, no Easter egg hunt, but why don't you print this out and color it in? So she does this. She puts wings coming out of the egg and a
Robert
cross.
sends it to me and says, "Look at this."
And she tapes it up on the wall, and then she says to me, Robert, what does eggs have to do with Jesus' resurrection? I'm like, I don't know. That's a good question, because yeah, I've always wondered that myself. You know, it seems like a huge disconnect. Then I get the book number 2, right? Angelopolis. I'm reading through it. I'm like, oh my God. I just put the book down. I go, honey, you're not going to believe it. Here's the answer to your question. You know, since you asked, it's just like, God, this stuff is crazy, Rex.
And great, and just to add to that, and Rex, you have to read these books because your brain's gonna fall out of your ear, dude. They're that
It's
unbelievable.
really intense.
But all of the architectural artists from like the from the Renaissance all the way up into they always were commissioning these high level people, and I'm not going to name any names, to paint eggs, like all
Yep.
through history.
Yep.
There's all these amazing pictures of eggs by these commissioned famous artists and architects and all of this stuff, and it's even all throughout Europe. And it's because they were all documenting the hope of the royal
bloodline.
egg birth.
Yeah. The bloodline back to the angels. The
So
ones
was
with
Jesus
wings.
born in an egg?
But what?
You think Jesus was born in an egg?
Oh man, since you brought that up, okay, this is another debate I had with my wife. She says, well, Jesus is the Son of God. And I said, but that's what they call the fallen angels too. The sons of God mated with the yes, sons of God mated with the daughters of men in order to create the hybrid Nephilim, right? So, and what do we know about Jesus's birth? Guess who showed up for that? Gabriel, an angel. Now, the question is, did he do more than just talk to her? Was he delivering a message, or was he delivering something else?
Right, he was the one.
Possibly impregnated, maybe. I personally think that's a very, very real possibility. He was very busy. You also heard of this thing called the Quran? Allegedly, Gabriel, the angel, was dictating that to Muhammad, who was totally illiterate
Right.
at the time. So, are they interfacing with us? You better believe it. Now, as far as Jesus, Rex, I think I showed you the picture of the transfiguration where he goes up on the mountain and he's glowing in the dark. And Elijah, who was also taken up into heaven in some kind of chariot of fire, and Moses suddenly just appear. At least that's what it looked like to his disciples. They just poof, they're just there. And there's some sort of voice or light over him saying, this is my son with whom I'm well pleased. It's like, well, okay, is that supposed to be Jehovah, or what's going on here? I mean, again, I know the story has been completely distorted, but there's something really major going on. The other thing they say about Jesus was that allegedly when he was in the tomb, the shroud, the only way the Shroud of Turin could have been was if there was a huge burst of light coming out of the body. And we talked about that before. Where's that coming from, right? Isn't that angelic? Because it's not just about the wings. I mean, this is in those books. It talks about electricity coming out of the angels, especially the benevolent one. Oh my God, when that thing shows up to destroy some of the dark Nephilim. Okay, I think they call it Giborims.
Yeah, they go bomb.
The Nephilim, the Watchers, they have created, like I said, all different kinds. They have like subclasses. There's a hierarchy. Some of them are just servants or warriors or whatever. So this particular scene that Jay and I are talking about, when the benevolent angel shows up because it was summoned to assist, and see, and that was the other thing. When I got to that part, I'm like, wait a second. Didn't they just ask me to ask them to assist us? And here I am reading in this freaking fictional book. I mean, it just gets, it's so bizarre, Rex. There's no way that could just be a coincidence. It has to be synchronicity, right? Or confirmation.
Oh yeah.
And Rex, we haven't got to the end yet.
Well, good, man. I'm
sorry,
still
Rex.
on the edge of my seat here. I got a little bit of popcorn left, and let me light up another one.
Oh my God.
Goodness.
Well, I mean, so that's the thing is like, Robert and I get all this information, right? And we're just mind blown at how it's all literally all these like disparate pieces that we've all been reading are all now seemingly tied together.
Yeah, they are.
But we're fighting the idea that, well, wow, you know, the Bible thumper Christian, hardcore Christians people are the one that's had it right all along, even though we were like dismissing it because we wanted to, you know, piece in the reptilians and the ETs and everybody else, right? Or whatever we think is out there. But we come to find out, and again, through these guys, you know, brilliant research, you know, Gary Wayne, obviously Trusoni. And by the way, we didn't even say Trusoni was clearly, what was she, a 33-year-old girl, Robert, when she wrote this book?
I'm not sure she was. Yeah, she was very young. Daniel Trusoni. Yeah, that was her first novel, Angelology. It's 400 pages. It's mind-bending stuff.
Yeah, Rick, there's no way, as you know, obviously, Robert and I have written a number of books. I mean, to be a first-time author and to write something that profound, it's nearly impossible.
Yeah, somebody was giving her insight on it for sure. Maybe not so much the second book, but anyway, look, there's this. Oh my God, this explains everything. Now, since you brought up fundamental Christianity, Jay, I still think they don't understand fully because they're interpreting it through a dark lens.
Agreed.
And that, again, this is the big problem. I've told you before, all human agencies have been influenced or corrupted, co-opted, whatever you want to call it. So it's called fleecing the flock. Basically, they know how to, the dark ones, they know how to, if they don't have to manipulate everybody, they just look for the so-called leadership and compromise them, co-opt them, and then it just poisons the consciousness of the rest of those who are following the leader. And it works. It's worked very well.
Yeah, and
for a long time.
In part 2 of the book, the Angelology book.
That's the second book, yeah.
They really give you a detail of like how the fallen have created their hierarchy of the Nephilim in the leadership positions in governments around the world, and how they, you know, like Robert said, you know, you talked about the 13 royal families, whatever we want to call them, the Illuminati.
Yeah.
They have this giant hierarchy that they've created, and they rule from the shadows, as you know. And, you know, to fast forward to now, to what we're dealing with right now, and just to kind of summarize the whole thing, and both of us can, you know, go with it. Robert's right. The fundamental Christian people are looking at this with a very dark damnation, fire and brimstone, you know, tribulation, rapture, endgame. And really what it probably is, and this is just a hypothesis, but everyone is concluding the same thing that is on this, especially Redfern, especially the Genesis 6 conspiracy. But what we're seeing right now, Rex, is the move to tyranny, right? We're seeing it now everywhere. And clearly the Nephilim, and I'm sure their bosses, are pushing us into this whatever is to come. And both Robert and I feel, and we can't prove this, but you know, the data shows this, that however this is going to work out, but somebody, whether it's Trump or on his side or whatever, and again, this is a supposition, is going to save the day in some capacity in the next 4 to 6 months, 6 to 9 months, 7 to 8 months, soon. Most likely, in my opinion, I think Robert shares it with me, before the election. And I don't know how he's going to save the day. But something is going to happen where the bad guys, the people who love us so much, Rex, are going to get arrested or called out. Don't let me finish. And be made to be the fall guys for all of this.
Scapegoats, yeah.
The scapegoats. And then they're going to recapitalize the people. They're going to do a debt jubilee. They're already talking about debt jubilees. And the world is going to be jumping up and down, like, forgive everybody's debts. The world's going to be jumping up and down. We're all good. Everything's great. Oh my God, Trump and whoever is, on his side saved the world. They took down all the bad actors. And then that's the beginning, bro, of the fallen angels' true one world religion, one world government. But what we didn't talk about, which is very likely, which you're very familiar with already, is Bluebeam. How do they make this right? Well, Robert and I think that they are going to land, and they are going to come to Trump, and Trump is then going to go to the world and say, "This are your saviors. They are the ones that investigated the dark beings that have been sacrificing our kids and blah blah blah." I won't name names, and then throw them to the wolves, and say, but oh, by the way, their technology, they're also much higher spiritually than we are. So, dude, how simple is it? One world government, one world religion. And then that's, again, I don't want to go down the whole Bible path, but
You're going full revelation on us here.
Well, I'm not, though, because realistically, the evidence proves that this is the path that it's heading. And we, obviously, Robert and I don't know if the good angels are going to intervene before any of this happens. And we think that they can. It's up to us to call them, to ask for assistance. But Rex, you and I know, Robert knows, there are most people on this planet right now are servile. They've lost their freedom. They're so compressed from what's happened in the last 6 weeks that most people will just walk around outside with, how many people do you see driving down the road with masks on in their cars?
A lot.
Yeah.
So southern Colorado, even.
Everywhere.
Kind of like 50 people, they're doing it.
So people are scared and they're servile and they're complacent now. So you can very easily see that most people will just hold their hands up and say, "Yippee, give me the vaccination, I'm ready." So how hard is it going to be for them to not enforce the...
Let's continue in a bit. Gallery to smoke.